So I might keep it really brief and just give you a little outline of the project and then play the video, because you'll probably get enough from the video itself. So this is a project that I did last year for my interactive tools module for my master's. It's an interactive sound walk around Pomona Island in central Manchester. Some of you might know it if you ever get the tram into town. It's by Cornbrook. You can kind of see this big kind of abandoned wasteland. And looking at it, you don't really think much of it. It's just wasteland waiting to be kind of developed. But actually, it's got a really rich history since the 1800s up until now. And it's basically just going to, in the next few years, it will just be completely built on new flats, fancy apartments. So the idea was just kind of capture the history and experience it before it kind of gets lost. So a brief overview on the history. So in the 1800s, there was a hall bigger than the Royal Albert Hall in London. There was botanical gardens. They hosted like circuses and concerts and political rallies and stuff. And then there was an explosion nearby, and they couldn't afford to rebuild it, so that just got lost. And then it was part of the Albert Docks, the Manchester Ship Canal. It was just bustling with ships going by all the time. And then when that finished, it was just left for 40 years, completely abandoned. No one kind of touched it, and the wildlife just grew, and it was like an urban oasis that it had been compared to like the Eden Project to the north. But in recent years, there were people protested a few years ago, but it didn't do anything basically, and it's definitely going ahead. It'll be built on, and the people that own the land make sure they flatten it once a year, so it doesn't get written off as a place of ecological importance. So I went past on the tram the other day, and it's completely flattened. So everything that you see in this video now, this beautiful kind of green space, looks just like a field. So I just kind of wanted to, through this project, reimagine its history, reimagine maybe what it could sound like if it was left to grow and become a beautiful green space in Manchester. And to get listeners to think about how soundscapes change with gentrifying cities and histories that get lost. And so I used a few different sound sources for this. So I went to the Central Manchester Archive and listened to loads of tapes there and got a few recordings of some oral histories and just general field recordings from the time. Took my own field recordings and then used composed music as well to just kind of reimagine it. And so as the listener walks around, the sounds are triggered based on their GPS, just like on that presentation before. Works pretty much the same way. So I might just play that now, if that's okay.
I've got one or two versions of this song which say "Way Down to Pomona," which is part of the Manchester Dock, or the Salford Dock. It is really the only part of the docks which is on the Manchester side of the river, of the ship canal. And this is Mrs. Stubbs recalling her father singing
They sang this song, Pomona. We met in our despair, I never shall forget. Her eyes were like the stars, the evening it was wet. Her hair was hanging so, that lovely little donor. Upon my life it was my right, I was waiting to Pomona. Each night she said, you know me now, as we're not in the dark. Steadily I knew you all along, but just meant for a laugh. Then for your laughing you would say, not forgetting your little donor. Your hands will stay, the grass will stay. One hand is through the morning.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Hello. So in the compositional process, do you think it was driven by the visuals? Do you have like a visual narrative that you followed, or was it a sound narrative and then you composed the visuals to that?
So I think when you visit the place, there's only really one way you can walk around it because it's so overgrown. There's only kind of one path that you took. So in terms of the composition, I just thought I'd kind of take, and I wanted to uncover the history as well. So I just kind of thought the composition kind of followed the chronologically through its history as you kind of walked along this path. And then I think the way it ended up, I wanted like the sounds from the actual space to bleed into like what you were actually hearing. So it kind of ended on the sounds of the actual soundscape, and then the idea that you'd kind of take it off and be more engaged with what you listen to and make connections and stuff. Yeah. Because I guess with a lot of other, maybe you could use it in other ways and be more like, you could explore more, whereas this, I didn't really have that option because it was just one path. Yeah.
Obviously, with this project highlights something that is already gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Pomona wasteland is now like apartments building. You don't have to get the trams. You can see them from very far away.
Mm-hmm.
Also on the websites.
Yeah.
They're on sale now. But I would say that this is an exploration of a project that is gone, but there others are at risk,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that we could still do something about it. I mean, that could have been like the Central Park of Manchester instead of New York. And you think about the implications of it for urban life, for citizens, for projecting the city. Maybe the cost is so high that you can't imagine generations after what sort of things they have to say about this. But looking at the project, how would you see yourself implementing this in situations where things are still at risk? They still haven't. I mean, there's a bit of scope for making a statement and saying, "Listen, let's change people's mind about this.
Yeah.
Let's have an opinion about public spaces, even private ones, because they belong to all of us. Who decides the shape of the cities?"
Mm-hmm.
That's a big question, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess for this one, it was done at a time where there was no going back. People had protested it, and it was definitely going forward. But I guess it could be, like you said, applied to different places where it could be more of a kind of active protest, and just engaging people with like spaces and history. And yeah, kind of lost what you. You're right.
I really like the piece. It's there are like examples like the Victoria Baths in Manchester that was closed by the council in the 90s. And there was a protest from the community and they kept it open and they managed to get heritage from it. Unfortunately, what I'm trying to say is how can you need to sort of like what Nicole was saying, re-visualise, sort of imagine these places, what they would look like, because pretty much everything's starting to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the architecture is so have you thought about sharing it to like Manchester City Council or like sort of using it as well as like to a specific audience that's going to that has some sort of power to act on this sort of thing?
Yeah.
To sort of like change the way things are becoming all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And put it out there and bring these debates up in a public domain.
Yeah. Because I guess, yeah.
Invited guests or something like that.
And I guess I've made this video, but that's not the kind of composition. That's just a document of the actual experience, which is being there. So I guess that could be something that could be run.
Is the piece just sound piece?
So it's on Echoes. So Echoes, so similar to that Sonic Maps. Like, so it's a similar application. So you can download the app on your phone and you can access it there, and it triggers as you walk around like the different points. So, and I think that is like really important, to be in that space and to be experiencing the sounds alongside the visual and being there, and it's like much more emotional and you can actually connect to the space.
It becomes your own gift.
Yeah.
Just quickly, so did you speak to anybody who'd been actively involved in protesting against the gentrification and getting rid of the nature that was there at the time?
Yeah, it's more kind of what I'd found online about it, like someone had made a documentary and stuff, and I tried to approach them, but I didn't get anything back, so I just kind of did it, went and did it myself. But
and so this piece now, I'm assuming you can't go around and experience it anymore?
You still can, and
But
you can
you
still,
won't be able to at some point?
like within the next few years, yeah. Like these flats are being, like they're for sale now, and it's not even built yet. So
do you view the piece as still alive then, or
for now,
is it over? But once it gets built on top of?
I guess it could be reimagined to the kind of around what's there to be like, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
It was a project in Belfast, I remember many years ago, run by a kind of consulting called You We Trust, including architect Marcus Patton, musician Bill Drummond, very famous musician from here actually, and artist Susan Phillips, Turner Prize. They divided this architectural heritage areas in Manchester with these three sections, like sort of, I mentioned two, but there were actually three. But basically, things that were gone, the bombing, you named it, and then things that were at risk, and other things that actually were safe, that they actually managed to accomplish. And this idea of integrating people that are in cultural heritage, Michael Patton, he's an architect conservationist, artist from different parts of musical culture, from the visual arts or from the popular musical culture, create these kind of synergies for these projects to be highlighted. And of course, when I saw this project and I thought about the digital overlay concept and the different approaches to it, I thought it was absolutely essential to have it. That's why you were called. But it was meant to be the beginning of a conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because I think this is an amazing master's project, but the potential is so huge. And it has so many angles for reflection, from using echoes as a geolocative tool and go beyond it, to create new tools, as you did in the project, to go beyond sonic maps, echoes, and create augmented reality experiences within the place. Because once we experience the other alternative, we actually regret that these things happen more strongly. So the virtual overlay becomes, the digital overlay becomes the technology and the force for us to understand the problem. We would not see otherwise or here. So I don't know how this is going to happen, but hopefully we'll be documenting this and putting it online and try to get some momentum for it. There are people here from active, collective protesters that go to the street and raise their hands to artists that work alone at home and they don't know the potential of their art. And I don't know who will be here watching and listening, but hopefully will be something that, hopefully something will come up out of this. So thank you for coming today.
No, thank you.